First, I'd like to say thank you, Dr. Morante, for helping me pass the ANCC exam. I did take the Flex crash course, I did the question banks, and the one-on-one was super helpful, especially with the fast facts that were provided. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Morante, for being such a supportive preceptor and mentor throughout my process. Your knowledge and experience and compassion are top-notch, and I'd recommend you to anybody. So again, Dr. Morante, thank you so much for being so supportive, and I am thankful that you were my preceptor, and the classes that you provided were very informative and really helped me to pass the test. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Morante for always being my cheerleader. His live review class was very informative, and the Q banks were hard that they honed my critical thinking skills and strategies for test taking. Dr. Morante has been very supportive, and his wisdom was always on point. Thank you for everything, Dr. Morante and PAS-NP, for helping me pass my ANCC PMHNP certification exam.
I passed! Thank you so much, Pedro Morante, for everything, for your mentorship during all of my clinical hours in my DNP program, for the PASS course that allowed me to have the confidence to excel at the PMHNP ANCC boards the very first try.
Remember your 2-2-1 rule, okay? All those questions that are difficult, sometimes they are non-scored, so don't stress about it. You should be great, and always trust the process, enjoy it. You're gonna be gonna be creating an impact to the community. Remember, it's not just to pass, but also to lead by example, to create an impact to the community. We're gonna celebrate tomorrow because you're gonna be a psych mental health nurse practitioner board certified from the Bay Area, California.
Oh my God.
Congratulations. Did you pass your board today? Wow.
The exam was very tricky. Some of the questions on your review was there. Good luck to the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Attended our live class too in LA, right? The one in Koreatown.
Yes, I was in live class.
That was our live class. Congratulations. There you go. Ledi Lut from California. Psych nurse practitioner board. So proud of you from being my student to colleague.
Thank you, Dr. Morante.
Now, psych.
You guys,
board practitioner.
Dr. Morante is really amazing. He lets you be very independent, and you're gonna use a lot, because not a lot of preceptors would allow you to like do hands-on with patients, and with Dr. Morante, it's like one of the best trainings I've ever had, because I learned how to create my care plan, and then just give he would give input if you're doing the right thing or not. So that was really good.
Hello, future board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Happy Mondays. Welcome to another session of Lock It In Live Review. So lock it in. If this is your first time, it's a free PMHNP board review held twice a week, every Monday and Friday. So where we break down high yield concepts, practice board style questions, and help you strengthen your clinical judgment one topic at a time. So tonight we are discussing a very important, frequently tested topic, which is legal principles in psychiatry. If you are following the Lindsay Clancy trial, it's very timely. It's very important that we educate the public about mental health. So we will review concepts such as informed consent, duty to warn, involuntary hospitalization, patients' rights, and very important legal terms that every future psych NP should know. So remember, legal questions on the board exam are not only about memorizing laws. It's totally understanding They test whether you can recognize safest, most ethical, and most legally appropriate action as a psychiatric provider. So, if you are joining us today, if this is your first time, go ahead and type on the comment box where you are joining us today. And welcome back to our hello. Hello, Rosaline. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you for joining us today. So, we are also excited to announce that the past review center has achieved accreditation as an ANCC accredited provider of the nursing continuing professional development. So this reflects past review's commitment to delivering high quality evidence-based education for nurses and advanced practice nurses. So get your notes ready, participate in the questions. You can join us by answering the questions and typing it in the comment box, and do not just memorize the answer, okay? You need to understand the principle behind it. Are you guys ready? Oh, hello. Hello from Texas. Hi. Welcome to our live review. All right, are you guys ready? All right. Oh, also, we have our upcoming live classes. So we have the 4-day weekday PMHNP Live, which will happen on August 18 to 21, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 4-day weekday PMHNP Live, August 25 to 28, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and our monthly 6-hour last-minute preparation review. So it's on August 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. Okay. So if you want to join us, you can go ahead and scan to book our class. And for those who haven't, Past Review has a PMHNP study collection, the PMHNP Master Field Clinical Concepts, the PMHNP Mastery Psychopharmacology, and the Rise with PAS. When I was a student studying for the PMHNP board exam, I used the Rise with PAS, and now we came up with more review materials. And the clinical concepts and psychopharmacology can also be used by students who are still, in school right now, if you're still on your PMHNP school, and also if you are a new grad. So if you want to avail of this, you can use the coupon code PAS10 to avail of our 10% discount. All right, let's go ahead and let's do question number 1. A 34-year-old man with schizophrenia has been involuntarily hospitalized after becoming increasingly paranoid and disorganized. So he is calm, oriented, and refuses to take antipsychotic medication, stating, "I don't want those medications because of the side effects." The treatment team believes the medication would improve his symptoms, but determines that he is not currently on imminent danger to himself or others. According to Renee versus Klein, what is the PMHNP's best response? Letter A, administer the medication because involuntary hospitalization automatically removes the patient's right to refuse treatment. Letter B, respect the patient's right to refuse medication unless the refusal is overridden through appropriate clinical and legal procedures. Letter C, obtain consent from the patient's family member and administer the medication. Or letter D, administer emergency medication because untreated psychosis is considered a psychiatric emergency. Go ahead and type your answer in the comment box. Again, it's not just about memorizing the legal terms, okay? You need to know the rationale behind it. You need to fully understand what the implication is when it comes to psychiatry. Go ahead and type your answer in the comment box. Okay. Nakia, Dolores, and Rosaline says letter B. Okay. Okay, remember, the patient is increasingly paranoid or disorganized, involuntary hospitalization, but he's calm oriented, and also it seems like the patient is not at risk or risk for harm to other people. So the best answer will be Is letter B. You have to respect the patient's right to refuse medication unless the refusal is overridden through appropriate clinical and legal procedures. So under Renee versus Klein, it recognized that involuntary hospitalized psychiatric patients retain a significant constitutional right to refuse psychotropic medication. Medication may be administered over objection only under specific legal and clinical circumstances, such as a true emergency. The patient lacks decision-making capacity, but remember, the patient is calm, right? It seems like he has on the right mental state to actually make decisions on his own. So it depends also on jurisdiction. You have to review your state's laws. An authorized review process or court order permits involuntary treatment. And being involuntarily hospitalized does not automatically eliminate the right to refuse medication. Remember that is under Renee versus Klein. So these are like the comparisons. So these are the common cases that you will encounter in psychiatry. So Renee versus Klein, if the patient, psychiatric patients generally retain the right to refuse psychotropic medication. Renee refused, remember that. Washington versus Harper. So inmates may be involuntarily medicated if dangerous and treatment in their medical interest. Go ahead and write this down. Sal versus United States. Medication may be ordered to restore trial competency under strict criteria. Then Rogers versus Okin, high yield. Emergency medication is permitted only during a genuine psychiatric emergency. Okay, high yield, Renee versus Klein, and then Rogers versus Okin. You might encounter that on the board exam. So you really have to dig into deeper that and then look at what's the implication when it comes to psychiatry. All right, question number 2. A 43-year-old man with chronic schizophrenia has been involuntarily hospitalized for 12 years. He is calm, takes care of his own hygiene, is not suicidal or homicidal, and has repeatedly requested discharge. His sister has offered housing and supervision, and outpatient psychiatric services are available. The treatment team argues that he should remain hospitalized because he continues to experience fixed delusions and would benefit from continued treatment. Which legal precedents most directly supports the patient's discharge? Letter A, Addington versus Texas. Letter B, O'Connor versus Donaldson. Letter C, Tarasov versus Regents of the University of California. Or letter D, Washington versus Harper. Go ahead and type your answer in the comment box. Anybody? What's the answer? Remember, the patient is involuntarily hospitalized. Is not suicidal, not homicidal. This case is very high yield. You often hear this. Anybody? Dolores and Rosalind and Jonah said it's letter B. Is it the right answer? Kendra said it's letter B. Okay. Yes, the answer is letter B. O'Connor versus Donaldson. It's very, very high yield. So be familiar with that, okay? So it established that a state cannot constitutionally confine a person who is mentally ill if that person is not dangerous and is capable of surviving safely in freedom, either independently or with help from willing family or friends. So the patient has mental illness, is not dangerous, should have a safe discharge plan. So mental illness alone is insufficient. It's not enough justification to continued involuntarily confinement. As long as the patient has no risk of harming other people or harming themselves, they can blend in the society. Or you will encounter later on when you practice that no matter how psych medications we give, some patients would still have delusions, some patients would have hallucinations. But what is important is making sure that they're able to blend in the society and they're able to perform their activities of daily living. As long there's no risk for harm to themselves or other people, you cannot continue involuntary confinement. What else? Any questions on that? So here is another comparison of different cases. So for O'Connor versus Donaldson, mental illness alone does not justify involuntary hospitalization. Please write this down. This is very high yield. Addington versus Texas, its civil commitment requires clear and convincing evidence. Washington versus Harper, involuntary medication may be permitted under specific circumstances. And Tarasov, very high yield, that is the duty to protect or warn identifiable victims. For this table, the high yield cases are O'Connor and Tarasov. O'Connor versus Donaldson and Tarasov. All right, good job, everyone. All right, question number 3. If this is your first time joining us, please help us continue to build our community. It's the only way for us to continue giving these free reviews. So if you please share this to all your classmates, anybody that you know, share it on all your social media so we can reach more future psych NPs. And also for those who are starting their practice as a new grad. So question number 3. A 32-year-old man with schizophrenia is charged with aggravated assault. During his forensic psychiatric evaluation, he correctly identifies the judge, prosecutor, defense attorney, and the charges against him. However, when asked whether he should accept a plea agreement, he states, "It doesn't matter because my attorney is secretly working for the Martians." He repeatedly refuses to discuss legal strategy because he believes the courtroom is a television set broadcasting his thoughts. What do you call that? Which is the best determination regarding this defendant? Letter A, he is competent because he understands the charges against him. Letter B, he is not guilty by reason of insanity because his psychosis interferes with legal decision making. Letter C, he is incompetent because his delusional beliefs prevent him from rationally assisting his attorney. Or letter D, he is incompetent because any defendant with schizophrenia is legally incompetent. Go ahead and type your answer in the comment box. What do you think this patient has? The patient has a delusion, right? However, he correctly identifies the attorney, the judge, the prosecutor, but he's having a delusion. So what is the best determination regarding this defendant? Okay, Dolores, Shanetrika, and Rosalind said it's letter C. Are they correct? Kendra said it's letter C. So everyone thinks it's letter C. Okay, all right. Yes. All right, so the answer is letter C. He is incompetent because his delusional beliefs prevent him from rationally assisting his attorney. So Dusky established the standard for competency to stand trial. A defendant must have, so memorize this, a factual understanding of the proceedings, a rational understanding of the proceedings, and the ability to consult with and assist counsel with a reasonable degree of rational understanding. So this patient has a factual understanding that he knows the courtroom participants and charges, but his persecutory delusion prevents him from rationally working with his attorney because he believes that his attorney is working for the Martians and that the courtroom is actually a television that is broadcasting his thoughts. So therefore, he is not competent to stand trial. So this is under Dusky and versus United States, okay? Can the patient understand the proceedings? So insanity defense, is it could appreciate wrongfulness? Current mental status, can the patient actually assist the attorney, answer questions? And then they have to ask, what is the mental state of the time of offense? Could he understand that this behavior does not conform with the law? And then competency to stand trial, can understand the proceedings. And then criminal responsibility, can the patient appreciate wrongfulness? All right. If you are watching the Lindsay Clancy trial, I think if you are new psych NP, I would really watch the fifth day, wherein they actually called in expert witnesses. So you can see like psychiatrists like talked about medications, what could have been their condition, and the and one of the expert witnesses that I really like is the psychiatrist, Dr. Shah. Well, she explained in layman's term what these medications are and what these medications do to your brain or your body. And I think, like as psych NPs, we need to learn that skill to explain things not using medical terms, but on terms wherein patients can truly understand how these medications can affect them. Okay. So if you haven't heard about it, Lindsay Clancy trial, it's an ongoing trial. And unfortunately, she was a labor and delivery nurse and killed her three children and tried to commit suicide. So it's very, very timely. If you haven't tuned in, I would really recommend you to do that. Because you'll be like, oh, Ledi mentioned this. If the patient has these signs and symptoms, do not start the patient an antidepressant. Because I think that's what happened, just based on initial testimonies. But who am I? I'm not there. Just like what I see on the internet based on what I heard. But yeah, remember, never start a patient who could be bipolar. So you really have to know what are the signs and symptoms of bipolar disorder. Never start them on antidepressants because you can push them into manic episodes, and some of them can eventually go into psychosis. That was like a classic example. That was like, this could have happened. But anyway, let's go ahead. I just have to squeeze that in because it's very timely, and I think it's a good learning especially for new grad psych NPs. Question number 4. A 41-year-old man with chronic schizophrenia is on death row after exhausting all appeals. He is calm and cooperative during his psychiatric evaluation. He accurately states that he is scheduled to be executed next week, but insights that the execution is actually a government ceremony to transform me into an immortal ruler. He denies that the execution will result in his death and cannot explain why the state intends to carry out the sentence. Which legal principle most directly applies to this case? A, the inmate is incompetent for execution because he lacks rational understanding of the reason for his execution. Letter B, the inmate is competent because he knows the date of the execution. Letter C, the inmate should be found not guilty by reason of insanity because of his psychosis. Or letter D, the inmate is incompetent to stand trial under the Dusky standard. Go ahead and type your answer in the comment box. Choose the best answer. Anybody? What's the answer? Type it on the comment box. Okay, the answer is yes, letter A. So the inmate is incompetent for execution because he lacks rational understanding of the reason for his execution. He still thinks it's going to be immortal. It's like, transforming after his death. So according to Ford versus Wainwright, they held that the Eighth Amendment prohibits executing a prisoner who is incompetent due to mental illness. So to be competent for execution, the inmate must have a rational understanding that, number one, they are going to be executed and why they are being executed. So although this inmate knows when the execution is scheduled, his delusion prevents him from understanding that it is actually a punishment resulting in death for his crime. Therefore, he is not competent for execution. So he's still having delusion, it's going to be a ruler, right? So the patient is not incompetent. So again, another table for comparison. Dusky versus United States. So the key question that you would be thinking, can the defendant understand proceedings and assist counsel? You know, so the timing before and during trial. For Ford versus Wainwright, the key question is, does this person rationally understand the execution and its reason? So you have to figure that out before execution. And then Jackson versus Indiana, can an incompetent defendant be held indefinitely? So that's a pretrial commitment. And then Sal versus United States, may medication be forced to restore competency? So you have to figure out before trial. But among this table, the most high yield case would be Dusky versus United States and Ford versus Wainwright. Final question. A 29-year-old man with bipolar 1 disorder is experiencing severe mania with psychotic features. Believing he has been commanded by angels to free his neighbor, he breaks into the neighbor's home and removes several valuable items. He later admits that he physically entered the home and he took the property, but insists he believed his actions were morally justified and divinely required. Which legal concept refers to the mental state or criminal intent required to establish most crimes? A, is it actus reus? Letter B, mens rea. Letter C, competency to stand trial, or letter D, capacity to consent? Go ahead and type your answer. Go ahead and type your answer. This is high yield. Okay. Which legal concept refers to the mental state or the criminal intent? Keyword there is criminal intent required to establish most crimes. So there are two things that you need is required to establish crimes, right? This and that. What I'm asking is criminal intent. So you only have two options on this one. Okay. Okay. Oh, nobody got the answer. All right, so the answer is letter B, mens rea. There are two things that needs to be established for a crime, right? Actus reus and mens rea. Mens rea is the guilty mind or the criminal intent required for many offenses. So it concerns what the defendant intended or knew at the time of the criminal act. So remember, criminal intent. Actus rea is the guilty act or the physical behavior. So without an act, there is generally no crime. So remember, actus means action. It's the physical behavior. Mens rea is mind. It's a criminal intent, okay? So in this case, the defendant clearly committed the physical act, but the question specifically asks about the mental state or intent, making mens rea the correct answer. For example, in cases of assault, so a patient punches another patient. So the actus reus, the physical behavior, is throwing the punch. The mens rea is intending to hit the other person, right? So, and then another perfect example, theft, the person takes one's wallet. So the actus reus is taking the wallet. Mens rea, however, is intending to permanently keep it. For this one, this patient or this person thought that he's doing a good deed when he did the crime. So, for example, I think this is like very timely for Lindsay Clancy. So if the patient has a severe psychosis and commits a crime, right? During the time, the patient is not on a healthy state of mind. So the violent act itself is called the actus reus. Whether the patient had the required mens rea or criminal intent may be questions and could be relevant to insanity defense. If you haven't heard about Andrea Yates, that would be another case that you should be reading into, okay? Like how psychosis can be determined and how can someone who might be normal one time and the next thing you know, they go through like psychosis and they totally don't understand what they are doing. So for this one, the answer is mens rea. Okay. Like I said earlier, actus reus is the guilty act or the physical action. It talks about physical behavior. Did they do it? Yes or no? And the external conduct. Meanwhile, for mens rea, it's a mind, guilty mind. What is the criminal intent? What was their intention? What was the reason behind that action? And it talks about the internal mental state. And that's it for today. Now, if you enjoy our free live classes, you can join our 4-day weekday PMHNP Live, our 4-day weekday PMHP Live, and our 6-hour last-minute preparation. 6 hours high yield, we focus on the most important thing, and we also focus on what could possibly high yield questions, high yield topics that could possibly come out of the board exam. Okay, the link is on the chat. And thank you guys for joining us, and hope you join us again on Friday, the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you again. Bye.